This innovation process that happens, that I just described, doesn't evolve only in one company. It can evolve in multiple companies. And so here is the next ingredient, the next thing to write down, the next hopefully pithy observation, is that when we talk about entrepreneurship, while small companies and startups are essential, major corporations play a major role. So as this technology adoption curve and the technology evolution curve plays out, the sweet spot, the place you want to be to capture the most value, is in this zone between initial commercialization and rapid innovation and product expansion. This is the sweet spot, not out here. That's rational. This is the zone out here of rationalization. So when I thought about this process, of course, I broke it into 4 phases that way. So again, what's my tribe? My tribe is a tribe of the first 2 quadrants. It's where I like to live. This is a different curve than that other S curve, but they relate to each other very directly. So to live in this space of value creation, the reason I like to live in this space is while you have competitors, and it is tough business, you're creating value in such rapid cycles, because remember, you have to affirm your stakeholders. You have to earn permission to continue in that business, that you're oftentimes having to collaborate between enterprises. You can't do it on your own. You can, Apple has, but most young technology-based ventures oftentimes need to collaborate with large partners because they have a lot of what you want. They have the money, they have the customers. Some large companies have actually perfected this process. And I would argue that's what Cisco has done. So in building a culture of a cluster of innovation, having large players exist contemporaneously with emerging companies and building those relationships between them is important. A quick example. Venture capital firm founds Cisco. Cisco is a startup in 1987. Starts in a partnership between Don Valentine at Sequoia Capital and 2 entrepreneurs, not really entrepreneurs, 2 engineers, not entrepreneurs actually, at Stanford University. What do these 2 engineers have? A husband and wife team. They have a solution to a problem that all universities have. 1987, you have everybody using computers, but they're all using their own version of a computer, and the computers don't talk to each other. Now, there's some emerging technology to have computers within a work group talk to each other, but the problem of having those work groups communicate with each other in an open network within a campus, what today we simply call the internet, but called then a campus, every university in the world had that problem, and many of those universities had developed solutions. So why does this product that ends up being Cisco emerge at Stanford? They're in a culture of venture creation. The need is seen by the university. They develop a solution. The opportunity to provide that solution broadly is seen by local investors who have experience in this industry. Don Valentine had been a VP marketing and sales at National Semiconductor. It's across the street, virtually a mile away. So why does he go to Stanford for this? Simply because it's across the street. He's probably going to come to Deakin or somewhere else, but that was across the world. So proximity matters. In a cluster of innovation, having the various ingredients to the innovation model matters, having them close. You don't need all the resources locally. Some of them can be global, but you need to have enough locally to take those first steps. Sequoia found Cisco. Cisco appoints the investor to their board of directors. Don Valentine stays on their board, not just for the 3 years or 5 years of rapid growth, but for 20 years as chairman and then vice chairman. Why does he stay on their board? Because Cisco is a rising star, and by being on Cisco's board, he learns what this industry needs. And he founds additional companies that then get acquired by Cisco or other competitors. So it's a good investment strategy for him to be on the board of Cisco because he's learning about the marketplace. So this cycle of interaction between investors and startups and large corporations helps create a cycle of value creation and success that can be a lighthouse in a community and attract others to it. And this is one of the components that builds a cluster of innovation. Pithy takeaway, right? Collaboration of large and small. Now here's the end of the spectrum that we're in now in Silicon Valley, which makes Silicon Valley just like anywhere else, like Detroit or London. This is rationalization. The example is Oracle. We all know Oracle, they got a big sailboat. Right? Oracle, SAP, head-to-head competitors. What does Oracle do to compete with SAP? They start acquiring and rationalizing applications. So they acquire PeopleSoft, BEA, Hyperion, even Sun now, just a software company, and with targeting a battle for Yahoo. Right? These acquisitions make sense in this case because when Oracle acquires them, it extends the offerings they can provide to their existing customer base, high efficiencies, they can fire 2/3 of the people, etc. That's old world business innovation, not what we're talking about. So that's my point. You don't want to be up here, you want to be down here. Up here, it's about low wages, cost control, not an exciting place to be. So that brings us to our closing concept. It's all built to how we bring this to the community level. Michael Porter at Harvard looked at communities and said, I have an observation. Communities are more powerful as competitive advantages if you have clustering of competencies. Everybody accepts this as true, and it is. But it's not sufficient. Co-location, he argued, generates positive externalities. That's true. Co-location makes it easier because you have common employee pools, the attorneys in your community get the expertise in your industry, all sorts of co-location advantages. But it doesn't explain the emergence of new businesses. In Silicon Valley, the emergence of in this case, I'm showing IT businesses with the emergence of the electrical vehicle and nanomaterial technology businesses. Another better example, perhaps, is an earlier one with the same Bay Area. My home is right there. My university is right there. Stanford University is right there. This is the area you would call Silicon Valley. And the red dots are the biotech companies. And there's no reason for biotech to have emerged. There's no reason for biotech to have emerged in the Bay Area if you listen to Porter. Biotech should have emerged in northern New Jersey and New York. They had great universities, they had the money. What they didn't have was a culture of venture creation. So Genentech and Cetus and Chiron are the early lighthouse successes that then creates the velocity for a whole new industry. So if you're good at venture creation and development, you see the development go across industry sectors. So a cluster of innovation incorporates Porter's idea of industrial concentration with the economies of scale, the access to information, network externalities. But it adds the concepts of mobility of resources, new firm creation as being a specialty, focusing on global markets, and alignment of incentives. This is my pictorial description of the Bay Area as an example as a cluster of innovation. You have great universities, like you have Deakin, we have Berkeley and Stanford. That's not sufficient. You need a community of entrepreneurs who are willing to take those ideas and put them into the marketplace. That's not sufficient. Those entrepreneurs need access to capital. That says venture capital. It could be government funding. It could be angel investment of individuals. And as I previously suggested, you need major corporations who will provide either access to customers or liquidity for investors by buying the emerging businesses. Over time, you'll see the emergence of a professional class of management that specializes in these first two quadrants. You'll see the emergence of professionals that specializes in these first two quadrants. You'll see the change in government policies that will adapt and support this process. And as this cycle of innovation occurs, more and more money comes to it from large pools of capital, in our case, large pension funds and sovereign funds, because they want to use that value creation process to access more liquid wealth creation for themselves. And if they're pension funds, it's essentially my pension they want to pay off. And they're allocating some of their funds. In a major pension plan, they're allocating 10% of the pension funds. My pension plan at the University of California, Berkeley is $200 billion. They have a 10% allocation to venture capital. That's $20 billion. That provides a lot of money, the people we've talked about, and the technology we've talked about. So those are the key concepts of enablers of a cluster of innovation.